Hey y'all, just wanted to stop in on some thoughts that I had in my mind and wanted to share them and get them out. Please keep in mind that what I say are my opinions based on life experiences, experiences of other people's lives, maybe a little research and purely observation sometimes. So I want to get into the whole thing about lone wolf behavior or people who enjoy their own company. Now, most people will want to belong or they want to be in a group. They can't spend the weekend alone. They have to go out with friends, and that is okay. But then you have the people who actually enjoy their own company. Now, the reason why that's a special group is not necessarily because they may be introverted or ambiverted. Because remember, you have people that can enjoy a select group of people, maybe a select number, and at the same time, they can enjoy their own company, but they don't like big crowds. I'm usually that person. It exhausts me to do big crowds of people, and whenever I'm around big crowds, I go home and I'm exhausted. But another reason why people who are more or less lone wolves are a special group of people is because they are secure within themselves. They pretty are okay with self. And there may be a person that can spend a whole weekend at home and not really have any interaction with a lot of people, unless it may be a text or a phone call, but not a physical interaction where somebody's hanging out with them. Now, we don't want to confuse that with a person who isolates themselves because isolation, that act is normally when you spend long periods of time away from others. And isolation is not good because you still need some interaction or some kind of contact with other people. So isolation is not good for the mind and the spirit because we are not made to be isolated. Imagine yourself being on an island and there's nobody there, or being in lockup, restrictive housing unit. I used to work at the Department of Corrections when I was in Pennsylvania. And those guys who were put in restrictive housing unit for maybe assaulting another inmate or a fight or something like that, they would put them in restrictive housing unit. These guys would be in a row of cells. So they really couldn't see the guy next to them. They could hear that person, but they couldn't see them. It was no sunlight in there. Like daylight was very dim. When we took a tour of the prison, we were able to see some of it, and it didn't look like there was much daylight. What I would hear a lot of times on the way in the prison, because their cells face one of the outer gates, was them yelling and screaming and hollering and stuff. And this is what happens when you put people in isolation, especially if it's not where they wanted it or volunteered it. They didn't sign up. But anyway, so these guys would be yelling and screaming, and that's because they were not having real interaction with other people. So I don't know if it's a good idea to isolate people that way, but I digress. I mean, it may have been the policy of the DOC or whatever. So people who decide to enjoy their own company, another reason why they are special in that regard is because 9 out of 10, they have something that they like to do that could be a solo project. It could be crocheting, it could be music production, it could be writing. Writers are really big with enjoying their own company because they need that solitude in order to gather all the thoughts that they have collected from the world around them, go to a remote or a location where it's quiet and there's no one, and bang out a banging story, a story that's going to entertain the masses, so to speak. So, this is really a thing with writers. I'm a writer and I can jot down little notes when I'm out in public and things that may give me an idea about something. But when it's time to get into writing that story, I don't need anyone around me. Same way with music production. There's certain beats or ideas that may come in my head or rhythm, and I'll say, oh, let me record that in verbal, because it could be da 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 da, something like that. But when it's time for me to record, unless I have other singers and people, other musicians around, if I am composing this on a solo, I need solitude. Another reason why people who enjoy their own company are special is because they don't need any validation from the outside or other people to make them feel like they are special. They don't need it. They may get it, or they may step out of solitude or their solo. I call it your solo system, because when you are doing your art and nobody's around and you're able to do it without any outside distractions, that is what I call our solo system. So they don't need the validation or the attention from people. And that's so special. And that's really a gift to have, to be able to sit down and enjoy, a project you're working on. You could be making an outfit, sewing, like I said, crocheting, and things like that. So, being a person who enjoy their own company is usually a person that has something that they absolutely like to do that does not require the attention or the assistance of other people. And that is something that I feel that I'm blessed with, because when I'm by myself, that's usually what I'm doing, working on something and making or composing something. And I do my best work when there is no one else around. A lot of times I've gone and read something that I wrote and realized that it wasn't as good as some of the other stuff. And when I go back into the recesses of my memory, I realized that when I wrote it, I was not alone. I had other people around. I was writing while I was on the phone listening to someone else. So that whole energy did not go into it the way that it should have, you see. And this is what being a person who enjoy their own company is about. There's times when I've gone to the movies by myself. Now, this is another fascinating thing about people who enjoy their own company. They don't let the absence of other people stop them from embarking on an activity. So, for example, like when I say, I've gone to the movies by myself, Now, especially when I was a lot younger, I would say, "Hey, y'all wanna go see that movie so and so? Well, I can't, and I want to see that movie Saturday afternoon, but other people they can't. Or how about we do it next weekend? And that next weekend I could be getting ready to do something else or not be in town." So instead of allowing the decisions of other people to stop me from embarking on that activity, I would just go by myself, get my popcorn and my drink, and sit back with my feet on the back of the chair in front of me, because a lot of times Saturday afternoon, a lot of people are not in a movie theater. They usually go in the evening. So I would go the first showing, 11 o'clock or 12 or whatever, and I would enjoy the movie just the same as I would if someone was there. Or if I want to make a drive out of town and I can't get anybody to go with me, well, go by yourself. And these are reasons why I say that people who enjoy their own company are special, because we don't need validation from other people. We don't need someone else to make that decision for us. And 9 out of 10, we have a hobby or project that we like to enjoy working on. I have a brother and he likes to work on cars. Now, when he's working on those cars, he does not need anybody around him. He just likes doing it. So when he comes out of his solo system, he goes and hangs out with friends or people who live in his building or whatever. And he's not a real introvert, but introvert, extrovert, and ambivert, those are three categories of certain types of personalities. Introverts are really deep into alone time. Now, that's not to say introverts don't have friends. Oh, they do. But they are very selective about their tight circle. Now, an ambivert, someone sort of in between, is not as deep into their solo system as an introvert, but they have their tight group of friends. However, they may be more inclined to kick it with acquaintances or people that's not that close to them. Even with that said, ambiverts tend to cut people back in a way where when it's time for them to do something, they have to go into it. So they may have a wider group of people that they may hang out with or be around or associate with. But even those acquaintances are really not that close to ambiverts, because I consider myself an ambivert. So an ambivert can at times look like an extrovert. They at times they can, because they sort of know how to deal with other people, but that circle of friendship is still sort of tight, almost like an introvert. So no, no, not everybody gets in. So an ambivert could sit there, kick it with you, joke with you, have a good conversation, and that could be it. They're not taking you home. They're not calling you on the phone. Only their 2, 3, or 4 friends do they have that intimate interaction with. So you can sit there, and I can sit there and tell jokes and have the whole room laughing. But that audience ain't going home with me. They're not going to be, and I'm going to call some of my friends' names. They're not going to be Lisa. They're not going to be Yvonne. They're not going to be Jerry. They're not going to be Melinda. They're just not those people. They're not going to be Letitia. So it's sort of like those are the ones that may know my deepest, darkest, but not my audience that I just had laughing. Okay, not necessary. So an ambivert can sometimes look like an introvert or extrovert, and it can throw people off because you will have people that you may have kicked it with, made them laugh, made them feel good. Oh, I was looking for you. What's your number? And they want to get in and they want to be your friend and they want to get close. But then the introvert in that person may sort of, they may give out their number, but they may not reach out that much because they already have their friends. However, an extrovert is definitely the opposite of an introvert. Now, it's nothing wrong with either one of these types, okay, at all, because we're all wired a certain way. But an extrovert is one that if they invite a bunch of people to the movies, they may get almost upset if people can't go with them, or somebody, or it could be 5 or 6 people that goes with them, and they may feel upset when one person drops out. Extrovert is usually the center of, they're usually the life of the party, the center of attention, and they like being the center of attention and the life of the party. And they like being that person that be the sponsor, the one that think of what everybody needs to do. They may be that way. Okay. However, extroverts may not get along with those introverts. They may not, because it's hard for them to figure out why they always want to be by themselves, or why don't they come and do stuff with us. So they may be acquainted with an introvert, and it may sort of rub them the wrong way that that introvert just don't seem to be able to be pulled out of their solar system into another wider galaxy of people. And then they may even feel that way about the ambiverts, especially if an ambivert may have hung out with them at some point, may have associated with them at some point, and then that ambivert gets in that mode where they want to be in their solar system. And the extrovert is like, I thought we were friends. Well, we are acquaintances. However, there's times when ambiverts like to be alone too, just like the introvert. And then there's times when they come out into the galaxy and they mingle a little bit. But introverts do not do that often. Introverts are totally okay with themselves. Now, someone once told me that introverts were antisocial. That is not the same. According to my research and observation, antisocial people are people that hurt other people. They are people who people don't want to be around. See, you are a people repellent when you're antisocial. You're either doing something or saying something that's hurtful that causes people not to want to associate with you. So that's antisocial. The order of the day with an antisocial person is cruelty. A lot of criminals who are sociopaths and psychopaths, where they're murderers and rapists and all, that's antisocial behavior. So antisocial, I usually associate that with criminal behavior or hurtful behavior. Even if you haven't done something criminal, you've done something hurtful. So people tend to be repulsed by that, and you repel other human activities just by, being that way. So nobody wants to, you've seen the kid who may have killed animals when he was a kid, which repulses other kids. Why did you kill that cat? What? That was just so cruel. And then those same people graduate into hurting humans. Okay, those weirdos. And yes, they are weirdos. I'm calling it. So being a lone wolf or someone who loves their own company is not a bad thing. It's not, there's balance in everything. I'm going to say this first. It's balance in everything. Everything requires a balancing act in life. so that we don't go to one extreme or the other. So whether you introvert, ambivert, or extrovert, there's a balancing act that we have to do in order to stay balanced. So we don't want to isolate ourselves. And then at the same time, we don't want to be so much out in the galaxy where we're not allowing ourselves to get to know ourselves. And that's what introverts and ambiverts do. They really know a lot about themselves. This is why they're so comfortable. They know where their flaws are because they have time to focus on self. They have time to work on self. They had time to discover themselves while they are in their solo system. They have time. Oh, I can sit here and I didn't realize I could actually do this. So they may discover that they can do some things that they never thought they could do or never even dreamed that they could do. So that's the thing. Or they may watch a movie at home or a documentary that educates them. So while introverts and ambiverts are in their solo system, oftentimes they are very productive or they are learning something. They are reading, they are looking at documentaries, they are expanding their education or their intellect, things that they learn. It could be studying the Bible or something like that. So we all need that balance. While we associate with others, we still need that time to work on self. And the way to do that oftentimes is to be alone. So you have to cut out that time to, okay, it could be early in the morning. I'm going to study. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Extroverts tend to, the moment they get up, they're thinking about who they're going to call, who they're going to hang out with, who's coming out this weekend, and let me see if I can get the crew together for, and that's okay too. But introverts need to learn that balance too and understand that they need time and space alone. So neither of these categories or types, I would say, are incorrect. They are just simply different. That's it. So I just wanted to come and express some things that I was thinking about earlier. And as I stated before, these are opinions based on life experience of me or other people, research, observation, and just the ability to be able to define behaviors based on what you see. Well, with that said, I am going to go ahead and get out of here and bid everyone a good day. Okay, until next time, this is Ran Ran, and I am signing off.